about a billion. We'll leave that one on the end off. So let's jump into this. The first thing I want to throw up is your banner here, because I loved your banner so much from your Twitch channel.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
I thought it was actually pretty funny. It defines you, right? This is you.
Yeah, you could say that.
What artist did you get to do this?
She's sort of like a small local artist.
Oh, yeah?
I'm not sure if you ever heard of her. Her name is MTQ Capture.
Oh, wow. Very impressive.
She uses various mediums, mostly paint.
Yeah, MS Paint.
Alcohol.
That's actually my go-to, to be honest with you. Every single layout I've had was in MS Paint until this new one, which Gilly has made for me, so he felt bad for me.
So basically what you're seeing on, I think, okay, so the white part, basically when I started streaming, I started with Alien Isolation. And that's sort of where like the bread stuff came from. And you can sort of see like there's sort of like an alien there in the middle, an alien kind of. I don't know if the art depicts that. And so that, most of that white part, well, actually just the one of me sitting and eating bread, was made by someone else. And then everything else is sort of paint masterpieces that we've sort of made when I first started streaming. We had like, when we were waiting on people to sign in for our Final Fantasy raids, I would pull up paint and we would play like Pictionary. And so that's what you see on the right side. And it's just, it's so silly.
It's very impressive.
Yes.
You really need to have like a day where you just teach art. So another, just on that, I still haven't played Alien Isolation yet. I got the Oculus Rift, and you can interface those two, and I'm waiting to do that.
You might need a diaper, but yes,
yeah.
I recommend it. It is, honestly, so I'm a big fan of like the Alien franchise, and playing that game literally was like, it was amazing. When you're talking about nostalgia with like all the previous Final Fantasies and like Heavensward and all like the references that they make, you will get that from this game, and it is beautiful. It is such a good game. It's like one of my top games ever played. I was so impressed with it.
I bought the Blu-ray set for Alien.
I think you'll enjoy this game then.
All right.
But with the Oculus Rift, I don't know. Like, it was pretty scary without, like, just on my computer. But I'm kind of a wuss. But if you have the Oculus, just invest.
I mean,
in
it picks
diapers.
up your mic, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll see. One day, and my dog. What will happen is I'm sitting there hiding under a table, and my dogs will bark or something, and then they'll just rip me apart. All right.
It was very well made. I was very impressed with it.
All right. Well, then that's the future stream, guys. You'll see it. Oculus Rift Alien Isolation. All right. So the first question I have for you, I kind of want to just start. I got 3 sections here, and the first one's just going to be kind of about you. And so I wanted to know kind of when you aren't playing Final Fantasy XIV, you know, making guides or streaming, what do you do? What's your normal day-to-day life like?
Let's see. So I'll wake up 5 minutes before I'm supposed to go to work and go to work. I work as an X-ray tech, so I basically do that all day, and then I come home. And once I'm home, usually on my spare time, I basically, it depends on the day. If there's a TV show to watch, we'll watch that, and then I'll get ready for stream. Or if we're raiding that night, so I'll get ready for that and stream. I've noticed that a lot of the times now I basically come home from work and I'm either taking a day off from streaming or I'm streaming. So not very exciting. I don't know if you guys expected me to be like a secret agent or something, but it's pretty simple. Maybe I am, and I'm just trying to lead you off the trail.
Very good job. Very good job. Well, I mean, that's good. It's nice to know that you have a normal life like all of us, and I think that's kind of what everybody needs to realize, is that we all have normal life. For me, this is just kind of a hobby. I get on every once in a while and do this, and then I go to work and have fun with that, but I don't really go to work. I work from home, so there's that too.
That's good.
Yeah. All right. Well, another question about you is, what classes do you prefer to play, and why do you prefer those to play?
So I normally main tank classes. I started off with Warrior. I am now playing Paladin, and I enjoy both. So I think just tanking as a role is what I enjoy doing in the game. I enjoy healing as well, not as much as tanking. I honestly just feel right at home tanking. It's just like a second nature to me sometimes. So of all the types of classes to play, I would definitely choose those.
Yeah. Well, do you when you tank, do you assume the leader role of the group too, or do you just kind of?
Not not really. Like, I'll definitely take control of the pace of the dungeon and how fast we go and stuff, but I don't really, like, boss people around or anything.
Is that something that draws you into tanking, is kind of being the...
Bossing people
Yeah.
around?
Well,
No.
you know, driving the ship, kind of leading everyone.
I don't know. I don't know what it is exactly that I enjoy about it. So when I started WoW, I started as a feral druid like a really long time ago. So I was playing, like, I basically started playing MMOs as a tank. And I think I've come so far from that every other class that I've played or every other role that I've played, because I switched to healing for a long time, for example, and it was just never the same. It didn't have, maybe it's nostalgia, maybe it's just the comfort zone that I'm in, but tanking has always been this thing that I've just enjoyed doing for whatever reason. And I don't know, I felt like I've always been decent at it. For things like DPS and healing, I always like overthink it, so I don't think I'm that good, or I can't focus enough for DPS, I guess. But for tanking, I just feel like it's more reactive. It's definitely much more to what I prefer as a playstyle. I don't know. It's just one of those things.
It's a pretty good answer. Well, why do you not like tanking Thorn March then?
Oh god. Mind you, I'm sure healing Thorn March is probably worse. So, I don't even know. Like, when we did hard mode Thorn March, and this is sort of where, like, the stigma came from, it was, like, that entire fight. Nowadays, it's really not that bad, because I've been farming it for lights and stuff constantly, so it's really, like, simple, easy, like, you don't even have to think about it. But back then, when it was, like, 18,000 Moogles doing 18,000 different things, and you're just like, I have no idea what's going on at all. It was, I don't know, for some reason, just the way that fight sat with me was just so uncomfortable that I just couldn't do it. So we only did like hard mode once, I think, and I didn't bother making a guide for it because I didn't even want to think about it. And so when Extreme came out, I was like, damn it, like, you know, I might actually have to make a guide for this because it's kind of a mess. And even making the guide for Extreme was like so hard because it goes against the very nature of how I like to explain things, and because it's so complicated and every single Moogle does like something completely different, it's just hard inherently to try to explain, and I think that's why I hate it.
Fair enough. I mean, I hated it definitely when I first started, but then like I figured it out and I made sense of all of the mechanics that were going on in my head, and you know, I eliminated all the nonsense that I didn't really need to know.
Yeah.
And it actually seemed kind of fun after a while, but then again, you have to kind of get used to it at that point too. Okay, fair enough.
It's never been fun for me, but I can appreciate the fight. It's just, it's too much like a mess that I don't like it.
Mm-hmm. Well, going into kind of a little bit of a different direction here, I would actually like to know, how did your current static form? Did you just meet a couple people who wanted to form a group, or were they like, oh yeah, you're Mizzteq, let's make a static, or what is it?
So basically before I even started playing Final Fantasy, I was pretty much convinced that I was done with MMOs. Like, I had been completely burnt out from WoW, and I basically said, no more MMOs for me. And so I got into into Final Fantasy 14 playing the beta because a couple of friends were playing it, and they're like, you gotta try this, it's so good. So I was like, okay, like, I'll give it a shot, and I enjoyed it. But I think I enjoyed it mostly because I was playing it super casually. Like, I leveled up super slow. I think it took me like 3 weeks to level up. And as I was doing it, I was just basically having fun with it. And so I ended up joining a guild that was like pretty casual. I think they raided once or twice a week. And it was almost the only guild or our free company at the time on Behemoth that raided at the hours that I would be able to raid, given like my work and stuff. So I ended up joining them. And through that group, I met my current static. So a lot of them basically were just like me, where they were sort of, you know, raiding a couple days a week or whatever. And I guess over time that free company basically had some issues, and my current static basically, or I guess 4 of the 8 people in the current static basically came away from there, and we basically formed our group like that.
Okay. Clear-cut answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Natural progression.
This is kind of a question kind of in regards to how hardcore you go at content when it first comes out. And I want to know, not at all, how long did it take you to clear static, or your static to clear T13?
I would say maybe about 2 or 3 months, maybe. And that's raiding like 3 to 4 hours a week.
Okay.
So like most of the time we only raid like once or twice a week for about 3 to 4 hours. And that's pretty much it. Like we don't even raid on reset day. We don't, we usually raid Fridays of that week or whatever week, even if it's like a new patch and stuff. So I think there are some of us that would like to raid a bit more because we can, if you were to like compress the time that we spent on turn 13, it probably wasn't even that long. It was just the fact that we raid so little. But I think it's because a lot of us have like scheduling conflicts, so the chances or like the times where it's possible for every single person to be online is literally like 2 days a week, not even. And because our FC is literally just our static, we don't have people to like sub in and out, so we basically just go. There have been like weeks where we didn't even raid because people were on vacation for like a couple weeks, and we just sort of go with it. We're not really that concerned about like world firsts or anything. We just sort of do what we can in the time that we have.
So you really just run kind of a casual group?
Oh yeah, I would say so. I think we try to down content, and we usually are pretty good at downing content far before nerfs and stuff, but we're not like crazy hardcore, oh my gosh, reset day, let's raid for 16 hours. That was me like 8 years ago, not so much anymore. And it's nice, you know, it's nice to just be able to like calmly kill stuff. That sounds weird, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I love to calmly destroy things.
Calmly, stab things, yep.
Yeah. So that's actually kind of interesting to hear. So this kind of covers the next question. Then I was going to ask you if you've ever tried for a world first in Final Fantasy XIV.
Probably not. No, since the beginning. So, like I have friends, for example, Braddock. He was one of the first people on Behemoth to 50, and I think their group killed Ifrit hard mode first in the world or some silly thing like that. And it just, I don't know, I feel like as you get older, you just don't care anymore. So maybe it's that, maybe it's just because I went into the game, you know, being super casual, trying out this new video thing that I had an idea of, and so it sort of took a bit of the pressure off, and it's so much more enjoyable for the game now. It's an interesting feeling. It makes me feel old, but I don't know.
I completely agree with you, to be honest. I don't think I would ever have any intentions to ever wake up right after patch and then grind all the way until, you know, we clear it first, sleep for 5 hours, go again, grind some more. That doesn't seem appealing to me.
Once upon a time it was, and I probably will grind like power level up to 60 just because I hate leveling. But to actually push for content, it's too much to rely on 7 other people to, you know, be of the same mindset, and it's kind of unfair when there is that one person that maybe just doesn't want to push that limit. So if you have a group that has like 8 people ready to go, then good job. But for us, it's just not a thing. Like it's not why we play the game anymore. So it's not a bad thing. It's just different.
All right, you guys heard it first. It's okay not to get world first. All right.
It's okay to enjoy the game that you're playing. That's what I'm trying to say. So if you want to go for world first, go right ahead. But if you don't want to, you just want to have fun, guess what? You're allowed to.
It's okay. All right. Well, you know, for a lot of players, it's really easy to get burnt out on the game after a while. You just get tired of doing the same things, especially if they've been playing for a very long time. What keeps you interested in playing the game?
Me specifically?
Yeah.
Or like our group? Okay. I give myself little stupid goals. Like, for example, right now, I have just, like, 2 weeks ago I finished my relic quest, which I said I would never get because it was pointless. And now it's actually, like, worth getting the relic. So I've been working on that, and I'll probably do the warrior one next. And right now I'm also, like, so back in the day I used to grind out the dailies, like, for, like, the goob mount and the, what's the other one? The little serpent thingy. But...
I don't remember.
No, it's not the Ixali. Whatever. The dudes in Southern Thanalan.
Okay.
And so after I did those, I moved on to the kobolds and the things with the S, the snake thingies.
Okay.
Again, bad with names.
It's fine.
But I got like so burnt out from it or whatever. But now I'm actually going back to doing those. I think Mr. Happy sort of made fun of me for not having the swag chair, and so I'm working on getting that because there's a chance that it might be a flying mount in 3.0, right?
Yeah, so. It will be. I think so.
Yeah, but I think I just give myself, like, I try not to rush things too much. Right now I'm sort of like working on pony farms, maybe doing the warrior relic quest. I'm kind of a little burnt out from the paladin one, but I actually got like the paladin tank mount finally, which is funny that I got it before warrior. Like just little things like that. I just sort of give myself a reason to play, and I don't force myself. Like if I don't want to play Final Fantasy that day, I won't. Like I'll go and play Bloodborne or GTA or whatever. Like I try to keep the relationship spicy.
Yeah, no, I can't believe how much I agree with that statement. It's just if you're not having fun and you don't want to do it, just cool off.
Why
you don't
bother?
have to grind. Yeah, you don't have to sit there and force your way through a relic. If you feel an urge to do it, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to kill yourself over it. So, besides Final Fantasy 14, what other MMOs have you played, and why do you prefer 14 over those?
So obviously I played World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
You'd think by now I know how to say it. I dabbled a bit into a little bit of Guild Wars. I didn't really like it because you couldn't jump. I played Guild Wars 2 when it came out, but again, it didn't sort of draw me the same way like Final Fantasy 14 did. I greatly enjoyed Star Wars: The Old Republic up until the end game where it didn't really exist, but it was such a good game up to then, and I loved it. It was great, and we did a lot of Rift. There was a moment in where I took like a break from WoW and I played Rift instead. So Rift for a little bit, then went back to WoW, and then I like dabble in Rift anytime there's like something to see, which isn't that much.
Oh, you're back. Okay.
And I think that's it. Uh-oh.
You glitched for a second. You're good. You're good.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, gosh, I mean, I kind of agree with you. I haven't played a lot of other MMOs, but the one thing that you mentioned that just hit home to me, and this pisses off a lot of people who like Final Fantasy 11, is that I tried to play it, and I couldn't play it after 2 days because I couldn't jump. Literally, I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm constricted to the ground.
Yes. It was just weird, especially in an MMO. Like, I understand in certain games, like Dead Space, for example, you couldn't jump in the first game. But after a while, you didn't really need to. Like, it was, the play style was different. But in an MMO where, like, you're supposed to be running around the world and doing fun stuff, I don't know. Yeah. Which is a really silly thing to, I know, judge the game on. But for whatever reason, I just never got into it. I played WildStar recently.
Yeah.
I miss it. It had probably the coolest housing system ever. I spent hours in there.
I heard it didn't live up to a lot of the hype that people were saying.
That game was really good, actually.
I enjoyed it a lot, too. I think its downfall was its publisher. And a lot of things being pushed through before anything was really ready. Sort of the same thing that kind of what happened to Star Wars. I don't know. I felt bad. Like, WildStar it was great. Like, I enjoyed it a lot, but I just feel like it wasn't ready, and it was too much pressure for it to, like, do stuff.
It still has potential.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. I guess we'll definitely see. Would you switch over to WildStar?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I played it for a while. I subbed to it for a while. But again, because I didn't have the time for it, basically, to raid in it, because I chose Final Fantasy over it, all I did in it was basically just the housing. Like, I gotta tell you, I wish I could show you my housing plot, because it is probably the coolest thing ever. And if it ever goes free to play, I really hope it doesn't, but it might, probably. I will log in there and get you some screenshots, but it was, and just the world. Like, I'm a huge sci-fi buff, so to have an MMO with, like, that sci-fi theme was amazing. And it had some of the coolest, Farside was a moon that you went on, and you had, like, altered gravity. Oh, my God, it was so great. So much potential. But, I don't know. Again, developers and, like, publishers and money-grubbing people.
I feel you. Okay, so another question, of course, about you is I want to know, where did Mizzteq come from? What's that name? How did that form?
So this, I think a lot of people in chat might know this one already, because I have been asked this quite a bit. I used to, it's also on our forums, the complete explanation. I feel a little embarrassed talking about the complete explanation because it's kind of stupid, and it sort of goes with when you're a young adult making decisions that you think are cool, but they really ever are not. Plus, also, I don't know if Rin is in chat, but she always makes fun of me every time I bring it up. But anyway, so the tech comes from the word tequila, because at the time I thought I was being really edgy. And eventually that got shortened to Tech, so I am in other games known as Tech. You'll hear Sly calling me Tech as well, like I respond to Tech a lot. And so in WoW, when I first made my very first character, I added the Miz to pretend kind of like a Mizzteq, and then the Z's are there because, again, I was trying to be edgy.
Yeah.
Not at all. You're just trying to make me feel better, but that's okay.
That's hilarious. I didn't know it was after liquor. That's great.
It's just, when you're young and stupid and you think you're cool, yeah.
To be honest, the image in my head is technical. So if it makes you feel better, a lot of people who don't know that story probably can jump to technical.
That works. I'll go with that. Then that sounds good.
Just make a different story.
Okay.
My name, of course, is from childhood stuff as well. I was with a group of friends, and I was the only person who lived or was originally from America. Everyone else was different, and so I was the Frosty of the group, if that makes any sense. But it was awesome. I loved at least mostly loved that part of childhood. And I had one person from Jordan, one person from Mexico, one person from Bosnia, one person from, gosh, I can't remember at this point. It's been so long. Like when I was 12 years old, that's when I made this name.
Wow.
So,
and you've kept it all this time. That's good.
I said mine as well. It's easy for me. Actually, I've changed my name recently in game to Frosty. It was some weird name that I created, Ukun Brickmain, which is completely, no one knows what that's from, but this relates to my channel. I thought it was Auken. Well, Yukon is like A-U-K-O-N, so you don't even know how to pronounce it. I figured it should match up with the stream, so I changed it, but on the same board with you there. The last thing on that note, which you probably already have answered, is what's with the bread?
So this goes back to Alien Isolation. For whatever reason, I don't even know exactly how this started out, but I happened to be eating soup that day, and I had a baguette, and I kept stress eating because I was so scared. And so people in chat were like, Miz, you have to stop eating. You're not allowed to eat any more bread until you die 25 times. And so for whatever reason, that just became a thing that, I was rewarding myself with bread. And so that's when that picture that I have on my banner came up with me eating the bread. And I don't know, we basically just joked from that moment on, if I ever got subbed or partnered on Twitch, my icon for subs would be a piece of bread, which it now is. And it's just, I don't even know. It's gone on from there. It's completely just exploded, but that's I guess how it started.
Do you still eat a lot of bread?
I do. I love bread. I would also eat Nutella, and I would dip bread in it and stuff and just eat bread. I don't know. Stress eating, man.
Okay.
It's delicious.
I'm sure it is. I've only had Nutella maybe twice in my life.
What?
I don't know. I never jumped on that bandwagon with all the Nutella stuff. But I mean, I hear it's
bandwagon.
Great. Yeah, everyone loves it now.
Bandwagon. Right? It's a way of life. Here, let me show you something. This is what you need to try. So they make these things called. Not that I'm advertising.
Okay. Maybe I can get some money off this.
But they are basically pieces of bread, breadsticks that you dip into the Nutella, and it's really good.
Kind of like Pocky Sticks or something like that.
Yeah, kind of, but it's Nutella, so it's delicious.
I will find some Nutella Pocky Sticks, and I'll send them your way.
Okay.
All right. So again, chat, if you guys, I apologize for the frame drops that are happening right now. It's just apparently Twitch hates me every once in a while, and they'll do that to me where it just completely drops. A lot of people are having that right now, where it drops for certain people at certain times, but hopefully the audio is still good. If the audio is not good, let me know and I need to kill somebody. But either way, if you guys have questions, keep them coming. We want to have as many questions as we can at the end that are collected from Gilly and Adagio for Mizzteq, so we can keep her here a little bit longer because we're already about past her time, but we have more questions to go.
That's where the duct tape comes in, right?
That's exactly when. Make sure to put it on.
Okay.
So the next section I want to go into is making guides, and I feel like we'll have a lot of input in this, and this is something I actually tried to make a guide once and it went horrible. But I want to just kind of ask you, when you first started making guides, what made you decide that that's something you actually wanted to do?
So this sort of goes hand in hand with that playing Final Fantasy in the beta, and I was like, I don't even know what came over me or how I got this idea, but it was just one of those random thoughts where I was like, hey, like, this is a new game coming out. Like, what if I were to do guides? Like, what if I were to just, as I did the dungeons, like, record myself and then do guides based on what I was playing or whatever. So it started off as just like a what if question, and it sort of snowballed into that's what I do now. Like, that's what I do for fun. I make guides. And I don't know, like, I honestly couldn't tell you what triggered it, like what made me start to think that. So I don't know. I wish I knew.
Well, I mean, that's, I guess, an okay answer. I'll accept it. I mean, you get that urge, I guess, when I started making a guide. I was just like, I really want to explain Triple Triad and go into detail about it. And then I was doing it with Windows Media Player. And the audio just, for some reason, went completely out of sync. That's after spending, like, all day working on it. And I just said, this goes in a folder over here. I'm not looking at it again. I'm done.
I do it separate. So I do audio on its own, and then I edit it into the video so I don't have issues
No,
with...
I did that. And see,
Oh, yeah?
I did it separately,
Oh, okay.
and then I started recording over the video. And then just somehow, I don't know how I messed it up, I did. And I was like,
Oh.
done. Too much time.
That's so
I feel
strange.
depressing. Or I feel depressed. Anyways, okay, so you normally make dungeon guides. Is that kind of your thing, or do you have any other things that you want to expand on besides just doing dungeon guides?
So, shameless plug, I have actually been working on sort of like a tanking guide. So I used to have this thing a long time ago that I announced and never actually did called Press Your Buttons, and it was going to be a series of role guides. I was originally going to do class guides for each thing, and then I sort of realized, like, I don't actually play all these classes that I said I would, so I didn't really feel comfortable making guides for them. But right now I'm sort of working on tanking role guides, if that makes sense. So apart from dungeon guides, I think I might do a little bit of that. Again, it all is limited by how much time I have, or at least the lack of time that I have.
Right.
So keeping it to just dungeons is a really easy way for me not to get burnt out and not to worry too much about, you know, not having the time to put out however many guides that I announce. So I like to keep it to just the dungeons, but I also, like, in times like this where I have literally nothing to do, I start to look at other stuff like tanking guides or, I don't know, general, like, tips and stuff like that, which is what I kind of want to do, but it's hard. Time.
Yeah, I can feel you on the time part. And I don't know, it feels like it takes a lot of work. How long does it usually take you to make one guide?
A long time. So if it's like a dungeon, it's really not that bad because I don't have to, like, work with 50 like raw files of the fight like I do for a raid encounter. It's literally like a dungeon. I would just go into the dungeon, record it, and then write the script and make it. And it usually takes about a day or so. And then the actual raid guides themselves take about a week because I do spend quite a lot of time on the actual script and making sure that everything is okay before I actually record it. And then I have to put it all, or like piece it all together to the end product. So it does take a long time. And then, of course, it takes an even longer time to render, upload to YouTube, do all that stuff. But making it itself, I think, is the longest part.
All right. Well, so you kind of went over the general process there a little bit. When you start a guide, what makes you think, hey, I need to make a guide for this? Do you say, hey, new content's coming out, I'm going to grind that dungeon until I feel confident to make that guide? Or is it something else? Do you just try to make it for everything that you can hit?
So since I normally stay to the dungeons, if it's something like a dungeon, I guess it depends on the difficulty of the dungeon itself. I used to only run it once and then make a guide out of it like that. So when I was leveling up, I would just basically go through it as a tank. And then based on what I saw from the only file that I recorded, that's what the guide would be. And I noticed that over time, as things started to get harder and harder, it would get, I would miss a lot of things. And so what I've actually started doing a couple patches ago, I would run the dungeon once as a tank, switch to healer, run it as a healer, switch to DPS, run it as a DPS. So that way I would get at least most of the roles' perspectives, and if there was something in the first run that I missed completely, I would at least, you know, be able to pick up on it. And even that, honestly, I feel like weeks later you'll be doing like Keeper of the Lake and notice something that you completely just forgot or like never noticed up until then. So it's kind of hard to sort of cover everything just by what you're doing by yourself, but usually it's not that bad. Like for dungeons, I'll just do once or twice, at most 3 times if I feel like I need to. Funny story, actually, for Karn hard mode, a friend and I went into like testing things out on like that first boss, and same with Snowcloak, because I don't know if you remember, like Snowcloak was bugged or whatever, so you would get stacks no matter what you did or how you moved, and we literally did Snowcloak I think 50 times just for that first boss to see what the thing was, because I wanted so much to like not do it wrong.
Oh my god.
And then later on, of course, they said, oh yeah, it's broken, but now it's fixed.
I can't tell you how many times I got yelled at for not doing the right thing to get out of that. And sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't work.
Yeah, it was so inconsistent that I was like, it's just not a thing. Like, you're just supposed to eat the stacks.
Yeah.
And then eventually they told us. But for raid content, it's definitely, because we go in there for like weeks at a time, by the end of it, you literally know everything by heart. So because I was recording the entire time, I usually know what, I guess, scenes I'm looking for. So if I'm looking for a way to pick up ads, I'll just like fast forward through all my raw files until I find a perfect scene of that, and then just grab it for the actual video. So I feel like the raid guides are a little bit easier because they're a little bit more natural just from us progressing through the content, and I don't have to like worry about missing anything, because by the time you kill the fight, you basically know what's going on.
I mean, yeah, when you clear it, and that's kind of another question I have for you, is like when you're going through and you're making these raid guides, is it normally, clear it, get all the information you can and make a guide, or is it kind of go through it, clear it a couple of times, then start using public information, find out what's the perfect strategy to go over, and then make a guide?
I think it depends on the fight. So for example, when Final Coil first came out, we killed turn 10, I think, in the first week. So when we were working on that, there really wasn't, it was just basically what everyone else was working on. So when it's something like that, it's basically go in there, see what happens, and then adapt. When it's things like turn 13, where for us, we are a couple weeks behind, and many groups have killed it, and there are many different ways to handle certain things. I've noticed that we usually, we will look at certain things to pick up random things, but at the same time, we're still always trying to figure things out for our specific group. And so for the longest time when I was streaming turn 11, we used to do it in such a way that we were solo tanking the first 2 phases, or the first phase, excuse me. And people would come into my chat and be like, you're supposed to have like 2 tanks soak in the cleave. And we're like, listen, buddy, like, just let us do our thing. Like, obviously we're killing it. So we sort of kind of like divert from the main strats sometimes. It really depends on the fight. It's hard to say. But we usually do what works well for our group. Again, we're just like the same 8 people every single time. So we don't have the, I guess, luxury of subbing in like 4 monks for Dragon Kick or, all that crazy stuff. So we basically have to figure out what works specifically for us. And I think that's usually how we do it.
Well, have you ever had a situation to where you made a guide and then you found something was just critically wrong with it and you had to go back and remake the guide or anything of that line?
I've never done it so badly that I've like remade the guide. For example, in Pharaoh's Sirius, which I consider to be like my worst guide, it's because in the last phase I like completely just not talk about Lunatic Voice, and I don't know why I completely missed that mechanic. Like, I just, even in like reading my script and thinking, oh yeah, that's good to go, let's continue on, for whatever reason, like that one, or even in what was it, Circus Tower, the very last end fight, I say something like completely awful because the way that we did it with our group was like completely random. So when I put out the guide, it was literally like 2 days or so after Circus Tower had been released. Or maybe it wasn't Circus Tower. Now I can't remember. Maybe it was CT? Anyway, so I made like this horrible mistake where I told people to do the exact wrong thing, and so many people in like on YouTube comments were like, no, you're supposed to stack up for this, blah 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 blah. And then so the only thing I've done, like, that was probably the absolute worst thing that I've ever done. I had to make an annotation that said, oops, like, so sorry, I was completely like misinformed, I guess, or I misunderstood this mechanic. It is done this way. Like, please follow this advice or whatever. But to redo an entire video is just so time consuming that it's impossible almost. So the annotations on YouTube are great for that. But I think the biggest problem is a lot of my guides from like 2 years ago now for Turn 5, for example, are so outdated because people overgear the content, or with Echo it's completely different. And so for guides like that, I'm considering making like an updated pre 3.0, here's what you need to do if you're going into it for the first time type thing. But it's just, I wish I had more hours in the day.
And I got a handful more questions. Are you still doing good on time? Or are you feeling like...
Yeah, I would say at latest 11:30. That's okay.
Okay, we're going to try. We're going to try for
Okay.
it. All right. And so the next one, I'm just going to combine these two questions. So do you handle all of the editing process yourself? And, you know, do you do all the artwork, or do you have someone else do it?
Yep, it is all done by me. Up until...
Oh, no. I got it.
Okay.
I got it.
Your
I'm coming
thing
back.
just went away.
I got it.
So I quite literally do everything. I'm not tooting my own horn. You know, every process I do on my own. Recently, I think since 2.4 maybe or so, I guess since second coil, like halfway through second coil, I started getting some raid members to help me. So you may notice that I have like different perspectives now. I have Textilla and Bok Choy both giving me like different viewpoints. And so they are now recording for me. Anytime we're close to a kill, they'll record. And Tech usually records the kill for us. So I'll have her viewpoint. I'll have Bok's because he'll record once we're close to killing it. And at the same time, I usually get Bok to read over my script. He used to make fun of me a lot of the times in like the first, my first set of guides, because he'll be like, "Oh, you forgot to explain this mechanic properly," or "No, I think you should have explained it this way." So I was like, "Oh my God, he's judging me every video. Why don't I just get him to read the script before?" And so he'll give me input and stuff. And like now I have him just, you know, reading it before I actually sit down and record, so I don't have to like go back and forth and make these annotations. So aside from that, it's literally just me and my handy paint skills, if you're asking about the artwork.
Yeah,
I don't really have that much art.
Oh, my camera's doing all kinds of funky stuff, but it's okay. I'm going to stay on top of it. It'll stick with us, and it'll just flicker every once in a while. And that's the only reason I didn't want to do Skype for the window, but it's all right. For you, Mizzteq, I'll put it up there.
Okay.
So the last question about guides is kind of, if you have advice for anyone who wants to actually get into making guides, what would your advice be?
Probably it kind of goes hand in hand with the time thing. I don't think people realize just how excessive and like stressful it can be sometimes, and how much time you have to invest into it. I mean, I think it's easy to sort of do it super easy, but I feel like that directly affects the quality of your videos that you're putting out. And so if you're taking the shortcuts or whatever, like the path of least resistance, I don't think the quality of content that you're putting up is usually as good. So I would say if you are absolutely serious about doing guides or streaming even, like put in the thought beforehand and see what is reasonable for you to do as, you know, someone living your life. Like, do you have the hours from work to do it? Do you have the time to play? Because if you think about it, I have to play everything that I'm making guides for, right? So I have to raid, I have to do the dungeons, and then I have to spend hours and hours making the actual guide. So I think that's probably the hardest part that people don't realize until they actually try it. But I would say as long as you mentally prepare yourself for the amount of effort required, you should be fine.
All right, that's a good answer. So, again, guys, if you have any questions, how many questions do we have so far, by the way, Gilly Adagio?
We have a good amount, actually. I'd say probably 15 to 20.
I'm sitting at, well, I only got
We
9.
might have to filter it and just kind of get the ones, you guys pick out the best ones in there, and we can ask those questions, because we might not have time for all of it, but find what questions we have. And
We
then
do like fire questions where I just answer yes or no.
Yeah, we could do that too. We'll do that. How about that? Unless if it deserves a good explanation,
Right.
then you can go into a little bit more detail. So the next step I want to talk about was streaming, and kind of when you first started to decide, you know, hey, I want to go stream now. What was your motivation to get into that?
I think some of you may know this already, but a long, long time ago, well, not really that long, it's been like 8 months or so, I sort of did something very similar to what we're doing now, but without webcam, without like anything crazy. It was literally, do you guys know Sly, aka the Gray Flax, which I can never say?
Sure do.
So Sly actually was on Behemoth at the time, and he randomly messaged me and was like, hey, would you be up to doing like a Q&A for my viewers on my stream? And I was like, what's streaming? And this is like completely when I was like super new. Like I knew what Twitch was, but I didn't really watch it. I didn't get what it was really, and I thought I would never do it because it just didn't interest me at the time. But Sly had me on his stream, and we basically just chatted like this, and there were so many people that like asked questions, and they were like, Miz, like, you should stream, blah, 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 and whatever. And seeing the way like Sly handled his chat and just the idea behind like forming a community just from something as simple as, you know, playing a video game and having people like laugh at you or talk to you. It just was so new to me, but also like amazing. I don't know. From that moment on, it sort of like planted the seed in my mind that said, you know, like this is something that I could try doing. Like it might be awesome. And so since that stream with Sly, I basically thought about it some more. I thought about how I would want to do it. I sort of started researching about what would, you know, what I would have to do to like put out a certain quality of stream that I wanted, because I didn't want to just like, you know, stumble my way through it. I'm a very like anal person, I guess. So I wanted things to be somewhat decent from the get-go. So I basically spent a couple months like investing in research, ideas, a green screen, because I knew I wanted one, because behind this green screen is my kitchen, and you do not want to see that.
Oh, yeah.
Like I live in a tiny space, so having something like that would have made me more comfortable. So it was just trying to figure out if this was something I wanted to do. But I think from then on is like that one moment on Sly Stream when I realized that like a community could be formed is probably the very first time I thought that I should try looking into it and seeing it.
How long
it's really
ago
cool.
was that?
It was in August.
Wow.
And then I started streaming in, I think, the end of October, start of November.
So you're actually kind of a new streamer.
Very new, yes.
Wow. That's impressive. I thought you were around for a long time. I didn't start. Actually, I started streaming in January 2nd of this year. So I'm still kind of relatively new to it. But I don't have my subscribe button. I don't know why. But
so I think I used my my YouTube numbers, and I was like, hey guys, what's up? Look at me.
Yeah. No.
I don't know. I think I sold myself pretty well to Twitch, so I think they like that. And I was actually very surprised that they were open to it. So I'm glad. I am very glad. But it's been a wild ride, definitely, from October, because it started off with me playing like scary games just for fun, to actually raiding on Final Fantasy and having people wanting that as like the main attraction. So it's been really interesting. And just honestly, I don't even know how to explain it. Like the community on Twitch is fantastic. Like I have been so impressed with just the level of connection that you can get with people on Twitch, way more than you could do on YouTube. And I think that's why I like it so much, and that's why I'm sort of doing it a lot more than I am, you know, making videos for YouTube. It's just so different, and it's so like more social and more human, I guess, than just robots leaving you message on YouTube. But
robots leaving you message. Yeah. So you were talking about kind of planning all this stuff out, and I'm kind of curious, what is a normal stream like for you? Do you just kind of go into it and you're just like, I'm going to go do stuff in Final Fantasy, or do you have like a concept in mind when you start?
So for the most part, at least for the last few weeks or so, it's been pretty much the same thing over and over again. It's been either raid night, savage wipe night, or it's been me working on my relic. And so I'll have, oh, there's my dog. I'll have like random days. A lot of the times when I think I'm streaming, I have a general idea that I'll stream something Final Fantasy related. But sorry, my pets are going insane.
Okay.
There are other days where we know for sure we're going to play a specific game, or we know for sure that we're going to do giveaways, or we're going to work on this. But a lot of the times it is literally just like, you know, set up for stream, log into the game, and then go from there and just see where the night takes you. I I actually don't really plan my streams that much, which I probably should do. But again, it sort of comes with the time thing and like randomly getting burnt out specific days where I do just need to take a couple days break to just like reset my mind. But most of the time, if I'm good to stream, I'll usually know by like the afternoon, and then like I announce it, and then I start streaming, and then go from there. But I think if I had more time, I might have like an actual schedule where I would do certain things on certain days. But right now, it's more of a plug and play type of thing where just see what happens.
I'm kind of on board with that. It just feels kind of, and with Final Fantasy, it's kind of hard to have a lot of different concepts for shows other than just regular raid streaming and all leveling up alts and stuff like that. And kind of one of the reasons I made this podcast was just so I had something else I could do besides just regular streaming, and I've been enjoying it so far. Okay, so artwork in a channel is done by you. We can just go ahead and throw that question out. All right.
Actually, there's like my banner on YouTube was made by a viewer who I like opened my inbox one day and he was like, "Hey, like I really like what you're doing. Have this banner." And I was like, people on the internet are nice. Like this is when I was first starting out, so it was like a complete foreign concept to me that this is a thing that people did. So I won't take credit for my YouTube banner, but Twitch is definitely
all you. All right, that's pretty cool. I mean, like anyone giving me any kind of art, and right now my girlfriend is person for my art, kind of fixing all of the horrible stuff I've done in MS Paint, and Gilly has helped me with MogTalk here, so I'm getting help with it because I just don't think I can invest the time in being an actual good graphic artist by any means at all. Is there anything else you want to see kind of come out of the streaming community that maybe is lacking at the moment for Final Fantasy XIV?
I think just awareness as a whole. So I did read like a couple months ago or so, there was a thread on Reddit, like the Final Fantasy subreddit, and people were like, "Why does no one stream Final Fantasy? Where are the streamers for Final Fantasy?" And then I was like, there's quite a few of us. Like, there's Mr. Happy. Like, there's, I guess maybe it's the hour that people stream that people don't really understand. But anyway, so in that thread, there was a lot of talk about how it's an MMO, and people don't really enjoy watching MMOs because they're boring, which, fair point. But I feel like, I don't know, like, I've had people watch me wipe to one fight for like 4 hours straight, and they find it entertaining. So I feel like there's the audience there, but there's just not a lot of awareness to the fact that there are like hundreds of Final Fantasy streamers every night, and there are so many of them to watch, and they're all like really entertaining. I don't know, like I usually click through random streams when I'm done streaming myself, and I will just end up watching someone and I'm like just be completely impressed with what they bring to the table. So I feel like it's kind of sad that Final Fantasy, which mind you it's a smaller game so it's completely expected, but on Twitch or in the streaming community, I guess it's so small. But I think because of that, and with the expansion coming, like there's only room to grow, like room to become a thing, I guess. So I hope like people sort of give us a chance, if that makes sense. Yeah. Because there are definitely lots and lots of streamers that are worth watching. So I hope that comes out of it.
There is a lot, and I don't feel like there's enough of a viewer base out there that Final Fantasy XIV deserves a lot higher of a viewer base with the streamers we have out there and the content that's being produced by those streamers. So it's kind of depressing to see that the numbers are low. And then, you have, and I do appreciate people coming in and streaming Final Fantasy XIV that have 20,000 viewers with them, but, they come into the game and they don't know what they're doing, and then they kind of miss a few good points and maybe downplay the game a little bit, and then they leave and stop streaming. But at the same time, people who are still interested in Final Fantasy XIV can kind of say, "Oh, well, this is kind of interesting. Let me follow a Final Fantasy XIV streamer," and that could help. But
I feel like those big streamers that do like jump onto the bandwagon anytime the new expansion is announced, the people that watch them are watching them for the streamer, obviously, not for the game. So I'm not too worried about them coming in and out and like, being awful at the game and making it look bad or whatever. It's just like, I don't know, I feel like as time progresses, and people are starting to realize, I think, that this game is not dying, it's not doing badly, it's actually doing quite well, and there's an expansion coming. So I feel just because of this like perfect storm of like PR that's about to happen, we're probably going to get a much like more viewers to kind of draw from, and it'll be a little bit bigger. And mind you, it probably will never be as big as WoW. maybe not even as big as 11, but you know, like I don't know. I feel like it has potential, and I think that's what I would love to see. You know, like more people realizing that the potential it has.
Yeah. All right. Well, now we need to get into the viewer questions.
And
we have
we're kind of down to about 10, so I think we're
okay.
Nice.
10. All right. Good. All right. So I'll let Adagio and Gilly kind of handle this, and you guys can take turns or do whatever. Just shoot them Mrs. Way, and she can deny him if she really wants to.
I got a few kind of like little
Some of
funny
them might
questions.
be trolls. I saw a
Yeah.
couple. They're
BF
like
Splat wants to know if that's a xenomorph on your banner.
Which banner? Right there?
Yeah.
Underneath my person eating the bread? Yes.
Yeah.
You do not tell.
Yeah, it's a
And
very good
Terius wants to know if you think SE will add more types of bread to Final Fantasy XIV.
I love these. I hope so. Ugh.
Okay.
My
Doctor.
culinary skill is like 9 in Final Fantasy. Also 9 in real life, so I just rely on buying bread.
All right, Dr. Katsugai. Sorry if I mispronounced
Katsuragi.
that. Katsuragi. And Sulu want to know if you are going to be doing a guide for Steps of Faith.
Steps of Salt. Yeah. So Cats is actually part of my raid group. And Solu is also one of my mods. So the running joke is that I don't want to go back into Steps of Fate. And so the footage that I have is quite probably not very good enough to make a guide from. I would just have to go back and like actually sit at the cannons and like be able to see every button and stuff. Maybe if I get some volunteers from chat, how about that? As soon as I mention that, they all scatter in the wind. But maybe.
Okay,
I'll work about it.
And
I'll work
Dr.
about
Katsugai, whatever. I can't say his name again.
You can just call him Cats.
Yeah, Dr. Katz wants to know if you are going to make more blooper videos.
So the original goal, okay, so the Turn 9 blooper video, which I think is what a lot of people draw from, that was, I don't know how that happened, or it wasn't really planned. It was more of a, wow, like our wipes were really hilarious during Turn 9. And so I wanted to do something like that for Turn 13, but nothing about our Turn 13 wipes was ever funny. It was always like really angry wipes and, oh my god, Mizzteq died to dive bombs for the 49th time. Everyone's super angry. So, I don't know, I just feel like the energy just wasn't as funny as it was for Turn 9. So, I also don't have like proper footage from our Turn 13 wipes because a lot of it was corrupt. I was having issues with like, I don't even know what it was, but probably not for Turn 13, but I will keep it open for the other fights.
Gyra is asking best and worst designed fights in the game at the moment, in your opinion.
Thorn March. Honestly, I hate Turn 10. I don't know why. I just hate it. It's like the new Turn 7, which I hated at the time too. I feel like I appreciate them as fights, but I don't like fights that like. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like that you can like one-shot Turn 13 and like wipe to Turn 10 for five hours for no reason. It's just like one of those annoying fights that you just hate for no reason, and it just. No, but I would say. I don't know. I'm actually pretty big fangirl of the fights in this game. I enjoy almost all of them, to be honest. Like I really appreciate the finality of certain mechanics, which I've noticed like other MMOs don't really do anymore because, again, sort of like the catering to casuals or whatever. But things like Titan Extreme I loved, which is against popular idea, I guess. But I don't know. Best mechanic fight was probably Turn 5, Turn 9. I don't like Turn 13 as much because I don't find it as mechanic heavy. But I actually really like Turn 12. It's one of my favorite fights too. I think I like mechanic-heavy fights, or things that require a certain dance around the mechanics.
So what do you think about Shiva X? One tank.
It's okay. I don't know. Like, it doesn't really stand out to me as, like, an awesome fight, but it's not a bad fight. I enjoy it, but I don't know. Why? Do you guys have,
I
issues with
personally
Shiva
love
X?
Shiva X. It's like, and the only reason I do is because it's a one-tank fight, and I hate thinking about that too, because I always feel like all these fights need to be 2 tank fights, because you don't want to eliminate a position and say, oh, well, tanks aren't really as needed. You just need one to kind of man through it. But if you have Shiva X, where it's 1 tank fight, and you completely control everything in that fight as to whether your group's going to die or not, if you turn it the wrong way, if you don't move at the exact right time. And I feel like that mechanic puts a lot of responsibility on me, and that's the main reason I probably like it. Probably the same thing with T9 and solo tanking. It's because I feel like I have a lot of power in that fight.
And it's more than just pressing 1, 2, 3.
Exactly. You
actually have to like work towards it. Yeah, I get that too.
But that's mine. That's all. I'll get out of that. This question's for you. So.
Okay. Snuggle wants to know if you've ever tried Terra.
Terra? I think I did like the beta of it for like 2 minutes. I don't know why I never continued with it. I'm not sure. Terra was the one with no, that might have been Ion. I honestly don't know. I've sort of dabbled in most of like the betas and stuff for MMOs, but I think it was too grindy, maybe.
I thought it was a really pretty game. It's just
yeah, definitely pretty, but
it was a little awkward at times. But
yeah,
other than that.
Okay, and the last one specifically for Mizzteq. Ryder wants to know if you have any recommendations writing guides. I think we already covered that though.
Like the process of writing guides, or.
I guess.
What would you recommend for like the best video editor?
So I used Sony Vegas almost exclusively for about 8 years. However, I was having, so remember how I was talking about like that Turn 13 files were corrupt and stuff. I think it's whatever thing. I don't know. Something's wrong with my Vegas where it doesn't actually use my CPU fully, and it doesn't also allow me to use my GPU, which I think is the Sony Vegas thing. I don't even know, but it's been giving me so many issues. Like my turn, I honestly don't remember what fight it was. Like I almost considered giving up on making the guide because of how bad I was, or how many issues I was having with the program. And so now I'm sort of dabbling in Adobe Premiere, but they're literally like the same thing. So I don't recommend one over the other, but I was having issues with Sony Vegas. But it also holds a special place in my heart because I've used it for so long. So I don't know.
Kind of like WoW, right?
Yeah, I guess. Except we don't like each other anymore.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah. All right. Well, right on time. We've just finished all the questions. All right.
Oh, we got 2 more for like in general, and anyone can answer.
Do you want to answer them?
Sure.
All right.
All right. Out of the 4 of us, are any of us planning to roll one of the new jobs in 3.0 as our main?
Machinist. Tank to machinist. I have to do it because it just feels like it's something completely different, and I love engineers, but that's me. Mizzteq?
Probably not as main. I do plan on leveling up Dark Knight, but it's just to have. I probably won't switch to it, mostly because I think our other tank wants to main Dark Knight, and I don't care either way. But I like to have every tank role ready to go, so I will definitely have it. I just don't think I'll main play it.
All right. Gilly?
I'll probably switch to Dark Knight, depending if it's a lot more funner than Warrior.
Yeah. We'll see.
And yeah, I'll definitely level Dark Knight and probably the other 2 jobs. I don't know if I'm going to switch to them. Just depends on how they end up playing out. And the last question is, I think, is it better to start the expansion with a new class or level 1 that we have now from the story that's currently available?
So does that mean, is it better to, you can't, I don't think you can start?
Yeah, I think
right?
you have to, I think you have to be level 50 and do 255 to even get into Ishgard to start the new job, so start now, start as soon as you can.
Yeah, Mizzteq?
Yeah, I agree. I think they said something like even to unlock the Dark Knight and all the other classes, you have to do whatever quests in Ishgard itself. So I think it's very similar to Ninja, where you had to be like level 15 to even pick up the quest. So if you have the time, this is like the perfect time to catch up, you know, like you have plenty of time before the expansion and you can just take it at your own pace and enjoy it because it's a pretty decent story.
I don't think anyone should wait to play the game. Go ahead and just dive into it now and get what you can before the expansion comes out. It just puts you that much farther ahead. So.
We have one more question from Get Bent MTG. What job do you What job do you feel is overplayed or underplayed in the streaming community?
And we'll
in the streaming community.
Yeah. And that's all for you, Mizzteq.
I don't even know because I feel like everyone plays something different. So I'm sort of drawing my experiences just from the streamers I know personally. Like I play a tank. Mr. Happy plays a ninja or a Bart. Well, I don't think he plays Bart anymore, but DPS basically. Good friend Raze plays a scholar. Everyone in my raid group plays something completely different. Like I don't know.
What about Summoner? Do you know any streamers that play Summoner?
Well, Kat's in chat and in my raid group usually streams, and he plays Summoner. I don't know if there's actually like he just streams for fun. I don't know if there's like an actual, professional. I don't know if that's the word, but like doing it full-time streamer that plays Summoner. So maybe yeah, but I think Summoner as a class in the entire game is probably underplayed just because of the issues that it has, right? So I don't know. Yeah. I honestly don't know. That's an interesting question, but I'll look out for that. I think I'll start noticing.
Okay. Host a poll or something in your chat one day. All right. So I think we're going to cut off the questions now so Mizzteq can get some sleep here. She probably needs to pass out and be done with this. Let me come up here and go to my nice little closing little thing, Hasta la Pasta, in honor.
You know my cat's name is Pasta, right?
Yep.
There you go.
Exactly what I was thinking. So, and what made you come up with the name Pasta, just out of curiosity?
It wasn't me.
Oh, okay.
We'll just leave it at that.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody who's watching tonight and bearing through the frame drop horrific scenario we had for about 30 minutes there. One day it'll be fixed, hopefully. Have tons of emails out to Twitch. And I appreciate everyone showing up. And tonight, I want you guys to give your own little closing statements before you get off the air. So, Mizzteq, just if you want to say your Twitch name, whatever.
Oh yes, right. That makes sense. I was
Either way,
trying
or
to
you
think
can
of
say
a speech.
No, speech. You can say.
So, yes, I am Mizzteq. You can find me on stream at twitch.tv/mtqcapture, on YouTube and Twitter under the same handle. It's very boring for me. But if you ever need to ask me more questions, go right ahead on Twitter. I am pretty active on Twitter, so if you want to throw me a question, happy to answer it.
All right. Gilly?
Furpiece. I'm just kidding. No, you can find me at twitch.tv/furpiece. My Instagram is Sir Gilliam. If you're on Exodus, you can add me. It's Gilly Valentine. So, yeah.
All right, Adagio.
You can find me at twitch.tv/Adagio_Andante. And I do have a Twitch that I'm hardly ever on, but if you want to follow me at that, it's at Adagio Andante, all one word, and then O2 at the end. So.
All right. And if you guys have any, and you know where you can find me, you're on the channel already. If you like this stream, go ahead and hit the follow button, and then you'll know next time. I'm trying to get into Twitter. I'm still really lacking behind that. I think I had to get Mel to tell me how to do a tweet about 2 weeks ago. But I'll get there.
It gets easier. Yeah. I started on Twitter about the same time I started streaming. And it definitely takes a while to get used to, but you pick it up pretty quickly, I'd say.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll see how that works out. It seems kind of easy. I have it all linked into my Gmail account and sort it properly because I like doing that. So every time someone tweets me, it comes up and pops up and has a little label on it that says tweet. So if you guys like the show, of course, hit follow. If you have any suggestions or comments, please send them to me. Best way is probably send them through Twitch right now, just because that's the main point of contact for me. And we'll be on air again Monday, 5. Well, it depends on the time zone you're in. I will say 9:30 EST or EDT, daylight savings, whatever. Who does that anymore? And we'll have more news and conducting a conversation. I think we're going to do statics next week, and we'll just go into detail about how to form a static, how to deal with certain situations in static, and how to lead a static. So before we leave, I want to do one more thing. Mizzteq, could you find somebody for us to host?
Sure. Let me pull it up. Let's see. Who's online?
Yeah, that's kind of the question.
It's like Russian roulette.
Yeah. Which one of you will I shoot? How do you usually do it? Like, do you have any preferences, or?
I mean, just whoever you feel maybe should get it. You know what? Do you know Samus at all? Do you know Evolved Mel?
Yes. He and I are friendly Canadian neighbors.
All right. Oh, and
He's pretty
by the
awesome.
way, you didn't see, but I got my BAP shirt on from
Oh,
Canada
nice.
just because I had you on stream. I thought I should put it on.
That's
But-
awesome.
Yeah. Is it best to host before you end the stream or after you end the
I
stream?
honestly couldn't tell you. I
Okay.
think you can do it whenever. But the thing is, I don't know. Like, if you host before you end, does it like
In
bring
the
up
stream?
the screen? I don't
Yeah.
know. I've always wondered about that, but no one has ever told me. So I think you can host before and then say your goodbye and then close stream.
Okay.
But I don't I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and host them up, and then I'll stop the stream around the same time so it doesn't do anything too confusing. And again, I appreciate you all watching and sticking with us tonight. And feel free to stick around and watch Evolved Mel. He's an awesome guy. And you guys have a wonderful night. Everyone say bye.
Bye bye.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Adios.
Oh,